Eileo guys, and welcome back. So in today's video, I'm finally giving you guys what the people have wanted for a long time, which is the new and improved Super Evolution tier list. Now this also includes the ultimate evolutions that we now had introduced into the game, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so shameless plug right before we begin and before I debut to you the magical photo, which will also have a link in the description below if you guys want to grab it and download it so you can take a look at it. But you know, let's get the important stuff out of the way, shall we? But anyways, if you guys do like the video, once we get to the end of it, feel free to like it at any point in time. Feel free to leave your comments below, especially constructive ones. As a tier list, do remember that this is just one man's opinion. Yes, I had the boys and girls over there in Discord help me out and, you know, catch anything that I might have put in wrong, or just the way I see things could have been wrong, just because with the amount of Astramon that I have and what I choose to use, things can be a little bit skewed here. But, you know, once again, if you guys feel like subscribing, feel free to do so you don't miss out on the latest and greatest in MSL. And let me go ahead and pull up this list here. Once again, disclaimer though, I know some of you guys are gonna complain. This is one man's opinion. That's it. At the end of the day, this is just a video game, and we have characters in a video game on a tier list that only matters, honestly, to me. It should give you a good idea of where you should place mons and, you know, how important mon investment is. But at the end of the day, you can make your own tier list. It's free. Just do what you got to do here. We have the actual tier list pulled up here. As you can see, it has grown quite a lot since the original tier list, and because of its big growth, and especially with the gap in between the original tier list and this tier list, I don't want to go too far in depth with all the monsters in between all of the tiers. I also, due to you guys voting on the YouTube channel like roughly about a month ago on the community tab, which is super duper great, I've condensed it down from it being like S+, S minus to just one letter grade. So with the addition of mons though, I don't want to go into too much detail within all of those mons, because as more mons are added with ultimate evolutions and super evolutions in the future, well, this list is just going to become more and more just absolutely crazy. So I'm going to do more of a general overview of mons, and maybe I'll pick out a couple in between each tier that gives you a good idea of why I chose to do them in that tier. But we can go ahead and start, you guys. So starting here from the D tier, we can see that both fire and water purse are coming in at the top of the tier. Remember, I'm weird and I like my tier list mons to be whoever's closest to the D or the C or the B or whatever, but whoever's closest to the left is what I put in regards to being the highest of that tier. Now other tier lists have things certain ways. This is my tier list. This is how my brain works. This is what keeps me sleeping in my bed at night very comfy. But we can see that fire purse and water purse, not water purse, but fire purse and wood purse are coming in at the top of the D tier, which is then followed by Sea Star, which is water Sea Star. There's Dark Boltwing, water Yuki, water Mijo, water Banshee, well, fire Banshee, then water Banshee. There's wood Succubus, fire Mona, wood Wildfang, wood Sea Star, and then at the very bottom of the D tier is going to be water Cupid and wood Cupid. Now the reason for these mons being in D tier, because I'm sure you guys are like, wait a minute, didn't Purse just get a ultimate evolution? She has 10% increase inside of her base stats and also these super duper amazing skills. Correct, but not all of them. The reason why both fire and wood purse are at the bottom, well, at the top of the D tier, which is technically the bottom of the tier list in general, as you guys will notice as well, with majority of the sappers being in there, is for the simple fact that even if you choose a Super Evo or Ultimate Evolution these mons, it's not going to change their stat percentage. Yes, they're going to be more stable in runs. Yes, they're going to do slightly more damage. But if your mon is already surviving in a place like B11, B15 or whatever with sap currently, you giving them a Super Evolution or Ultimate Evolution isn't going to change that fact. They'll do slightly more damage. And with Purse, both the Purse's cases, the ones with sap at least, which is fire and wood, they get resistance down as their ultimate skill, but it's totally nullified in my opinion if you're bringing him on like Light Griffin in there because he has resistance down on his 5-star skill. So you don't have to rely on that. So basically, the D tier is essentially, yes, I have options or I can super evo these mons, but will that really impact their performance? Will that do anything to their skills other than increase survivability? No. No. And then mons like Fire Mona over here at the very, very end of it. Fire Mona, I believe, is classified as a defender type, but maybe a tank. But her defense is just so dirt nasty low. Even that 10% boost isn't going to do anything. And yeah, I do take into account we have like the Nat 3 League, but still her performance there isn't going to be anything to scoff at. The Cupids as well. Basically, the Cupids, the water and the wood are useless. So it's like, if you evo them, it's not going to make them anti-useless. But anyways, moving on here. With the C tier though, we have Wet Loki coming in the lead, and then there's also Dark and Water John, Light Sea Star, followed by Fire Cupid, Water Hana, Fire Hana, Fire Sea Star, Fire Anubis, Fire Succubus, Water Succubus. There's also Dark Banshee, Dark Loki, Wood Leo, Wood Mijo, Water Mona. There's Fire Loki. Yes, Fire Loki's a sapper type, and somehow he is slightly above all the other sappers. I wonder why. Followed by Fire Mijo. There's Wet Leo, Dark Anubis, basically the RGB of the Bolt Wings, Wood Loki, and then Wood Mona here. Now, I mean, you guys are probably wondering, why is Loki above the other guys in terms of the D tier, even though the rest of the sappers are up there? And my conclusion with that was that his stat gain, at least in my opinion, seemed to be a little bit more substantial than what I figured with the D tier. Like, his change seemed to be more beneficial, at least in my opinion, than all of the other ones, but my memory could be slightly foggy with that, so you could feel free to drop him down to the D tier as well. But the general consensus with the sappers is if they're already sapping, it doesn't really matter if you increase their stats or not. But Loki comes in at the top of the C tier, even though I'm not a fan of water nukers, just because of that stat increase. And this is where we get to see the beneficial factor to the evolutions, because not only is he more stable, but with him also having Hunter and him having slightly more attack, once that's compounded with other items like trinkets and gems and enhancements, etc., and also books, congratulations, you do see a noticeable difference in damage. The same thing with the other mons here, like, say for instance, Fire Cupid. That 10% is going to help in Titans. That's going to make his heal slightly more potent. That's going to give him some more survivability, which is going to benefit everyone in your Titans team if you're using Fire Cupid until you can replace them. Water Hana, that increases her survivability in a place like Golem's B15, where normally you're going to be running like light or dark mons. And if you're not running light or dark, those mods are probably going to end up being super evoed, or they're probably Nat 5. So that's just an FYI. Fire Sea Star is also up on the C tier in my opinion though, because even though all the increases for the mons are across the board, with her super evolution plus the Nat 3 League, this girl can pretty much one-shot mons. And her kit is great for the Nat 3 League. So I did take that into account when I decided to put her here. So I think her performance is really great in terms of your investment in terms of C-Stars. And with Light C-Star coming in closer to the top of the tier list, that explains the same thing as well. She isn't the best. She isn't super duper optimal, which is why she is in C tier. But with them dropping her crit lead, or her crit need, shall I say, it does make her a lot better in my opinion. Alright, and then following behind that though, we have Fire Anubis. There's Fire Succubus. I'm not a big fan of Fire Succubus, but it does increase her survivability, and it should make her, I believe, HP siphon a little bit more potent, which is great. Now, Dark Banshee is an HP aggressor with Sap, which is very, very similar to Dark Arthur, which I believe their skill set is just flop. So this does increase her survivability, and even though she's a sapper, with her HP aggression, with one of her HP aggression skills, that does scale with us getting more damage from her. So she's not benefiting just from survivability. If she's already surviving with Sap, she can also increase her damage potential a little bit, hence why she's over here in the C tier. Dark Loki, same thing. I mean, his stats are increased. The main issue with him is just his skills. I believe he has double seal, so that kind of hurt his performance here, even though he is a dark nat 4. It is what it is, though. And then we follow back over here with Wood Leo and Wood Mijo. Once again, decent mons depending on how you use them. You could definitely argue that Wood Mijo could be a little bit higher, especially if you want to use her during the Nat 3 League. But overall increase isn't that great. Like, I would pick Fire Sea Star over Wood Mijo, so that's why she's lower. Water Mona, once again, one of the, actually the greatest of all time mons, especially as a newer player. You evolving her doesn't really do too much to her. I mean, it gives her some more damage, but in the grand scheme of things, it isn't that super duper crazy in terms of investment. Fire Mijo, you can super evo her for the festival and for gems, but overall she isn't super duper useful. Same thing with Wet Leo. There's Dark Anubis. The Bolt Wings, if they're already useful, you bumping up their stats within Ultimate Evolution or Super Evolution, which is Super Evolution in this case, isn't really going to change much. Wood Loki does get an increase because he is a HP or defense aggressor, I can't remember, but he has morale boost as his 3-star skill, which it's like, why? And then same thing with Wood Mona over here at the super duper bottom of the tier list. Her stat increase is fine and her skills are not that great, so even if you increase her stats, it's not going to change the fact that her skills are just like Wood Loki, and they're not really that much desirable. But anyways, moving forward to the B tier, Water Purse is coming in at the top of the B tier, which is going to be followed by Water Arthur. There's Wood Banshee, Wood John, Wood Arthur, Dark Arthur, Light Loki, Fire Wildfang, Fire Leo, Dark Leo, Wet Nike, or Fire John. I'm switching in between our names. I'm like, it's John, bro. It's Fire John. Then Wood Nike, Dark Nike, Light Anubis, and then Wood and also Fire Yuki here. So I'm going to focus more so on the top of this tier list. The bottom of it is pretty much, once again, your own opinion here. The bottom of the tier list helps solidify Yuki's, especially in terms of Titans. Anubis isn't super duper great in PvP, but that bump up in his stats with his current skill setup does help him. Same thing with performance from Dark Nike. That does help her. Water Nike, same thing. And the Leos, it does help their performance of you getting some more damage and survivability out of those guys. And the reason why I do have Fire Wildfang in front of Leo, even though Leo has Hunter, is for the simple fact that if you guys check out Fire Wildfang's books and you build her accordingly, she should be nearly on par with Leo, but she also has self-sustain. So unlike Leo, who's doing equal or if not slightly less or slightly more damage than Fire Wildfang, she's also healing. So, I mean, you can't beat that. You literally cannot beat that. Light Loki comes in ahead of Fire Wildfang, though, which I'm not a super duper big fan of Light Loki, but once again, kind of depending on what kind of mon setup that you have, he may be a bit more spicy with that setup there, but I think his buff was super duper nice, and having those additional stats with his tankiness and the way that his skill setup is, I think it's a substantial increase from having super evoed Light Loki to super evoed Light Loki. And then coming up after that, though, we have Dark Arthur and Wood Arthur. I honestly wanted to put these guys lower, but the boys and girls on Discord was like, bruh, what are you doing here? So the reason why they're on B tier is for the simple fact that you can ultimate evo these mons. And yes, in Dark Arthur's case, you can argue that it adds survivability. He's already super duper tanky. At the time of this video, he does have more HP than any other aggressor in the game, I do believe. And just having that 10% increase in stats make his HP aggression on his 3-star skill a lot better. It adds to survivability, and that's pretty much it. So when I took that into account, that's what I was taking into account. The reason why he is where he's at, though, is because of his ultimate evolution skill. If his ultimate evolution skill was different, it could be a lot better. But with it being Light Stalker, it's like I'm gonna ultimate evo him just for the stat increase and not so much the Light Stalker. I'm not saying that the Light Stalker is totally useless, because obviously if you bring in Light Mons to counteract Dark Arthur, you're doing the wise thing. But number one, if your Arthur has no crit rate anyways, it's not really going to matter that much. And number two, like getting crit rate subs in your HP aggressor is already a pretty hard thing. So having Stalker for light is beneficial, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not beneficial for every single monolith you're going to fight. Alright, and then following after that, though, we have Wood Arthur, which is the same thing. His, what is it, defense down, I believe? His defense down does have some use, and I mean, he hits like a butt cheek on a stick, as I said in the author review with his HP siphon, but his defense down with a 25% rate isn't super duper useful, even though he has all of this damage. Utility wise, it's like, yeah, I can defense down these mons, or I can just nuke them or crowd control them. It does help, especially if it procs, but with a 25% chance of it proccing, that doesn't really seem that much, because it's just like Pugilist set. Now, if you add it like a Pugilist set onto him while all the other stuff is going on here, that could be quite spicy. So I'm not saying that he's a bad investment. I think he's fair. Like a B, you getting a B in your class or whatever, that's a fair grade. It's not super duper bad. It's not super duper good, but it works. You pass, and that's pretty much it there. Coming in after him, though, is Wood Jean and also Wood Banshee. Same thing with these girls here. It helps boost up their damage, which is super duper great. And while it's not like an incredible increase in damage and just usability, it does bring them up to a higher level and make them a bit more appealing, as any player that owns these mons have noticed once they got their super evolution in there. Which is why I kind of put them a little bit higher than the Arthurs, because, you know, at least you know with your Wood Jean you're going to nuke. You know with Wood Banshee, she is a wave clearer and she can get that defense down off super duper quickly. So the stat increase is going to show itself, and that's pretty much it here. And then following after that, those are going to be Water Arthur and then Water Purse. Water Arthur is in front of the other two guys, at least in my opinion, just for the simple fact that with his morale boost, us leading up to his ultimate skill is going to be a lot quicker than the other Arthurs. So even though I believe he has stun as his ultimate skill with a 25% chance, just the same as Wood Arthur, in theory he should be able to get his morale boost off super duper quick compared to the other ones, leading to his ultimate skill, meaning that once again you could spam this a lot more. You know, you add that with a Pugilist set, as I stated before, that's even better. So the reason why he's ahead of the other guys is for the simple fact that he's going to be able to get the ultimate skill and get to the ultimate skill a lot quicker and be a lot more efficient with that. And then at the top of the tier list, I just hit my mic, which I do all the time here. At the top of the B tier list, though, is Water Purse. This helps her survivability, especially with her being built normally with triple HP or sometimes HP defense. But with that stat increase, that's 10% more HP on her, meaning that's 10% more HP that we're getting from Adrenaline's heals. And with her ultimate evolution skill, which I believe is HP aggression, which starts at 50% of her HP and goes lower, I believe is either incorporated into her attack or is just the ultimate skill, means that as you weaken Purse, unless you subdue her, no longer is petrification going to be your biggest issue. The biggest issue is if you don't subdue her and her HP is getting low, she may be coming in over here hitting like a butt cheek on a stick because she has all that HP. So unless you take her down, or unless you kind of allow her to heal, which is already going to be a substantial amount because of her ultimate evolution, things get kind of spicy here. Her skill, personally, I think is really, really good. And Water Purse has always been a solid mon, so having her ultimate evolution introduced just solidifies the fact that Water Purse she's a smiley face, man. She's an absolute smiley face. But following next, though, we have the A tier with Water Anubis coming in at the bottom, followed by Wood Hana. There's Light Wildfang, Dark Mijo, Wood Anubis, Light Nike, Light Mijo, Fire Victoria / Fire Nike. There's Fire Succubus, Dark Cupid, Dark Mona, Light Banshee, Dark Geeky, Light Boltwing, and then Fire Arthur. So once again, I'm not going to touch on these guys too much here, but Fire Arthur's at the top of the list just for the simple fact that Water Edge is a great skill because he's directly countering what he's weak against. So if I see a Fire Arthur on a team, the theory is oh look, there's a Fire Arthur here, let me bring in a Watermon, or let me bring in what's his name, like Water Griffin, to counteract him. That's no longer an issue. If my boy can get that Water Edge going, that's no longer an issue. you taking damage just like my Fire Arthur was a Wood Mon hitting your Mon. That's super duper great. With his just overall increase in base stats as well. Very, very versatile in terms of stats. I mean, honestly, all the Arthurs are, especially with their ultimate evolution, but very, very versatile. So you could build him more damage orientated or more defense orientated. But regardless of how you choose to build him, due to his stat distribution in general, he's still gonna do decent damage. He's still gonna have decent survivability. So overall, quite a big buff to him with that water edge too, countering his weakness. I mean, life's good, dude. Life's good. He, in my opinion, definitely deserves to be at the top of the A tier. And then following behind that, though, is Light Bolt Wing. Light Bolt Wing is mainly used for Titans, so increasing that 10% of not only his damage but survivability goes a long way paired with skill books. Dark Geeky comes up after that. Once again, a big staple not only in golems, but in the PvP realm as well because of her HP siphon and then her sap. So she's different from the other sappers because she isn't double sap, and yes, she's different from Dark Arthur because she has SP siphon. So not only can she be built tanky, but you can also build her DPS orientated, and she has crowd control capabilities with her SP siphon skill, and then she also has sap, which does some chunky damage. Combined with the fact that she's a dark type, having that innate higher crit damage means you can get away with making her do a little bit more damage, but not sacrifice much survivability due to her stat distribution. Falling behind that, though, is going to be Light Banshee. The reason why Light Banshee is in the A tier and not the S tier is because even though she has more HP than Light Yuki, she has, I believe, like 1k less attack, and also her shock. Her shock, I believe, is like 1 turn less on the 5-star skill. That really just hurts her performance. Like, if her shock was 2 turns, just like Light Yuki's, if I'm remembering correctly, she would be on the same list as Light Yuki, but due to her shock being slightly inferior and her attack stat being 1k lower, well, enough said. Alright, following up behind that, though, we have Light Mona coming in with her recent buff, with her recent changes. She went from like meme to absolute dream, so her performance is super duper great. I have noticed in PvP as well her becoming a lot more popular, but I think it's all because of Ancient Angel. I believe people have saw Light Mona a while ago on his defense team, was like, you know what, I'm using Light Mona now. And then followed behind her, though, is going to be Dark Mona. Obviously, Dark Mona is, once again, one of the goats, man. She's one of the greatest of all time, especially as a newer player. Having her as your wave clearer and getting her super evolution is super duper beneficial to your account here. But she's not at S tier for the simple fact that her hunter is slightly weaker than everyone else's, but her stats are fine. She's a little bit glassy, but she does good damage. She is, at this point, really obtainable for everyone, unless you somehow missed the login event where they gave out Dark Mona. Even if you didn't begin your account with the Dark Mona change. And yeah, she's honestly just a solid mon. Not super duper OP, but she does her job well. Follow behind that, though, is going to be Dark Cupid. Once again, more HP and more survivability. Already a good mon, just made slightly better. Same thing with Dark Succubus, with her recent changes of having stun, which I need to redo her review of. But with her having, I believe, double stun instead of double sleep, once again, more survivability, which adds into more crowd control, paired up with either like a team of other Dark Mons or a mix in between of Light and Dark Mons, just makes her shine even more. Fire Nike, Light Mijo, pretty much PvP staples at this point. Like, Light Mijo isn't as popular as she was before, but she's still a decent mon for anyone out there that needs a decent defense mon. Same thing with Fire Nike. I do think Fire Nike's slightly better than Light Mijo, just because she has that RGB advantage, and if you don't have anything to really counteract that, that could be problematic for you. But with her stat increase, it's just overall beneficial for her. Then followed after that, though, was going to be Light Nike, and then also Wood Anew. Once again, stat increases, their damage increases as well. Not super duper amazing, but like, would you regret super evoing these mons if you use them on a day-to-day basis? Probably not. And then there's Dark Mijo, there's Light Wildfang, Wood Hana, and Water Anew. Once again, Dark Mijo, double HP aggressor. You have more HP on her, which means more damage and more survivability. Light Wildfang, I believe, has like defense down and shock, so more crowd control capabilities out of her. Wood Hana is strictly for Titans. This is super duper important, though, because Wood Hana is a big staple of Titans, though, because of your wood team. And now you could say, but Eileo, both wood and fire Yuki are lower than water Hana. Well, here's the thing though. Not water Hana, wood Hana. They're both lower than wood Hana. Here's the thing though. Wood Hana, I got like 5 of these girls. There's people that have 6 or 7 of them because they're so darn good. They're so easy to build, and they're so beneficial to your squad because she's either on part of the lane with your damage dealing mons, which is your courageous strikers, or she's part of every lane just to add survivability. So her super evolution literally affects the whole entire squad. Like, that is it, dude. That is it. Water Anu, he has the reverse of Water Valk here. Not a big fan of Water Valk, but that stat increase isn't anything to scoff at. And if he's useful before, him having even more damage is even better. Alright, you guys. And then last but not least, we have the S tier, boys and girls. We have the tier where you getting that ultimate evolution, you getting that super evolution, makes or breaks the game. You go from noob cake kid to God Gamer with these evolutions. No, I'm kidding, but their evolutions do add quite a bit of spice to them and does make them a lot more potent, at least in one man's opinion. Do keep in mind though, this tier list is one man's opinion here. But anyways, coming at the bottom of the S tier is going to be Dark Hana. The reason for Dark Hana being on the bottom of this tier list though is for the simple fact that we have like Cupid. Dark Hana is a dark type, so she does benefit from extra crit damage, but like Cupid's books, he just blows Dark Hana out the water. So, good mon. Very, very good upgrade, especially for her changes and her super evolution. But we got better. Then follow behind that, though. Well, follow in front of her, shall I correct that, is going to be Light Hana here. Once again, that added HP to her stats does affect her shield, making her shield a lot more potent. And with her recent changes as well, that has made her a lot better than what she was before. So, Light Hana's increase is super duper useful, and it's really helped to bring up the whole Hana meta in my opinion. And then coming up after that though, we do have Light Cupid, which the only difference between Light Cupid and I believe Dark Hana is slight stat differences, but mainly his books. If you guys haven't checked out Light Cupid's books, they're absolutely just dirt nasty, dude. It is the same reason why like Fire Wildfang is in front of Fire Leo for me. That's the same exact reason. His book values are nuts. It's nice that he's a reliable SP battery and he can get up super duper quick, and all of his stuff is just potent, which is what you want, which is what Hana lacks. She has the skill, she has the abilities to do so, she just isn't as potent as Light Cupid. But following in front of him though is going to be Light Leo. Once again, his stun isn't super duper great. I believe it's like 60 or 70% booked up with his morale boost, but his super evolution does add some meat on his bones, and you building him either preferably in a more bruiser type way does make him still a fair mon in my opinion. You could drop him down to A tier if you wanted to, but he's at the bottom of the S tier because his performance, especially depending on your team composition, is super duper great. Building him bruiser or defensively with that super evolution does give him some more bulkiness, which can help ensure that even if his stun doesn't stick this time, hopefully that next turn we can get it off here. So, I mean, he's just a classic PvP staple. I mean, that's honestly just like Leo. But following in front of him, though, is going to be Dark Wildfang. Dark Wildfang is rocking double Stalker, which I believe when fully booked up is at 50%, and then she also has a 10% base, meaning you could run her triple attack or like crit damage attack if you wanted to with very, very little subs, and because we have enhancements as well. Very, very little subs to get maximum peak performance out of her, and with that increase in her stats, especially for her attack, congratulations, you get more damage out of her, which is obviously just a big no-brainer. Coming in after that, though, we have Light Jean here with her, I believe, HP aggression. That big increase in her HP is super duper beneficial, especially with her being a Light Mon, because obviously her biggest target is Dark Mons. Her books are pretty swell too, so I can't complain too much about her. Dark Sea Star, same thing, but she is a defense aggressor, and obviously she's higher than Light Nike because she is a Dark Mon. I mean, it's a no-brainer there, so imagine building Light Nike, but you have Dark Sea Star, whose stats, I believe, are like equivalent almost to a Nat 5, which is Dark Siegfried, but you get the added bonus of the crit damage. That's why Dark Sea Star beats out Light Nike any day. And then we also have Light Suck. Once again, a PvP staple. I do use her in Gold B15 as well. But just the fact that she can heal the squad, she's an SP battery, and you boosting up that benefit, I mean, it's smiley face all around. So not only does she heal a little bit more, but she survives a bit better, and the whole squad gets the benefit of her effects. So pretty self-explanatory. But coming in after that, there's going to be Light Purse, who I believe has like morale boost and shock, if I'm recalling correctly. That 10% boost is huge because that makes her survive a lot better than what she did before. And while I'm not a big fan of her purification, which I believe only has like a 20% chance of proccing or coming up and kind of like recleansing her skills, from my thought process, or from what I know, that reoccurs every turn, doesn't it? So say for instance you put on a status element on her for that one turn, there's a chance come around next turn that she totally refreshes that and she scoffs that off. Now that's nothing to play with, because in a PvP situation, this is the Mon Light Purse that you don't want to act. So say for instance you stun her, but her purification goes off next turn and she has full SP, and then she just lets loose, and congratulations, everyone on your team can't move anymore. So that's why she's up here. It makes a already good Mon even better. And even though purification's rate isn't super duper crazy, there has to be some type of balance right there. And her performance before this was already fine. So you increasing her performance and giving her the ability to act in situations where she normally can't act can make her very, very dangerous. Following after that, though, is going to be Water Wildfang, obviously with her Crisis Aversion lead. Super duper great Mon. Her books are pretty decent. She's a really big staple just because it's a simple fact that her lead is good, her kit's good, and her stat distribution is very, very well. And it's friendly to all new players to build her up and get her to Super Evo. So there's no real explanation as to why you guys don't have a Super Evo'd Water Wildfang. That's variant, hopefully, at some point in time in the game. Even if you don't use her for every single team, she is still just a great Mon to have, especially countering Fire Mons or any Mons that could be potentially damaging to your entire squad because of her lowering their ability to hit you with some nasty old crits. And then after that, the top three here, though, Light Yuki, I stated slightly before, Banshee here with her super evolution. She gets a big stat distribution, which is super duper great. Well, not big stat distribution, but a nice chunky stat increase of her attack. So she has 1k attack more than Banshee. But the main selling point about her is her super evolution adds not only survivability and damage to her, but when you pair that up with her books and her shock, my dudes, nice probability on these shocks, and they last for 2 turns. Like, what more could you want? 3-turn shock, yeah, you getting too crazy there. But 2-turn shock at a reliable rate from a already decent damage dealing Mon. So not only am I getting crowd control, but I'm getting some damage from her too. Couldn't ask for more, dude. Could not ask for more. But in second place, though, is Dark Purse here. Once again, Dark Purse kind of fell off, but with her recent update, which is the Ultimate Evolution, that 10% stat increase is no joke with her. I believe it's Predator on her 5-star skill. Meaning, if she already didn't hit like a butt cheek on a stick, well, congratulations. She's back and she's angry. And the spicy part about her, though, is her Ultimate Evolution skill, which is Undying Volition, which only goes for her. But imagine this, okay? Imagine this. You have Dark Purse, or you're fighting a Dark Purse. You take her out. She doesn't die. Can you imagine that? Can you? You don't want to imagine that. Because she doesn't die, all of a sudden she does Predator again. And the reason why you nuke that B word is because you don't want to get hit by that nasty damage. But here she goes again. That's a very, very bad time. So it's pretty much self-explanatory as to why she's high. I mean, she's high on the wave clears tier list, but obviously it's a no-brainer there. And then last but not least, coming in at the top of the Super Evolution tier list, we have our Lord and Savior, Light Arthur. Ladies and gentlemen, Light Arthur. He went from doing some crowd control action and some decent damage with his 50% hunter as his 5-star skill to absolute bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. His ultimate skill gives him puncture 70%. So not only is my man able to do some crowd control action, which I think fully booked up is 100% 2 turns. But one turn isn't super duper bad, just that 2 turns is a really big game changer. But not only is my man able to do some crowd control action with his shock, but he's going to hit like a butt cheek with a stick with that hunter action because of his 10% stat increase. And then just to go ahead and top it off here, dude has 70% puncture. Now, I do believe that's lower of the punctures, but even so, 70% puncture is no joke when he already has as high stats that he has, and you pair that up with you already being shocked. Holy crap. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. Hopefully you've seen it already. If you own a light Arthur, or if you fought a light Arthur, go ahead and let him get puncture off and see him just eat away at every single thing in the game. So not super duper like, oh my goodness, OP, but when he gets it off, it's like, dude, this is nasty. This is absolutely disgusting. So he comes at the top of the S tier list. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So obviously, as the tier list goes on and we get more ultimate evolutions and super evolutions, things will change here. But for the most part, I feel like this is a pretty accurate representation of the super evolution / ultimate evolution kind of meta in the game, or how you should kind of argue, should I super evo this mon over this mon, depending on what mons that you have here. Because remember, when I did this, I thought about the mons being booked and them at their peak performance and how useful they would be, preferably in more than one area. Obviously there's some in just pretty much one area, but that doesn't make them super duper useless. But this is just one guy's opinion. As time goes on, I will try and update this hopefully a little bit earlier, or a little bit more consistently than I did before. But yeah, that's pretty much one man's opinion. You guys can feel free to leave a comment below about what you guys think about the tier list. How do you feel about the whole ultimate evolution / super evolution situation? I'm super duper glad to get this out to you guys though, because I know all 3 of you guys have been asking in the comments here and there, Eileo, when is the super evolution tier list coming out? When are you updating this, dude? It's been like 25 years since the last time you did it, but it's here. It's one man's opinion, as I said it all throughout this video. So if you have a problem with it, number 1, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Number 2, if you haven't considered subscribing, even though I said this already, go ahead and subscribe. And number 3, it's a video game. But yeah, I've taken up enough of you guys' time. That's pretty much it.